Fasten your seat belts. You have arrived at Gay Talk Live, right here on gaytalkradio.org. My name is Tom. We hope you, your friends, your family, and loved ones will all call in and participate on Gay Talk Live, where we take your phone calls, we take your text messages, we take your voicemail messages, we take it all. Bring it on. Gay Talk Live, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 noon Pacific Time, Saturday. Mark your calendar. Is it Saturday already? Yes, it is. Hello, hello, hello. It's the first day of May. The first day of May. It is 2010. This is our 17th episode of Gay Talk Live 2010. Yeah, the new edition. Man, I got a lot of news to share with you folks today. I hope everybody's relaxed and ready to hear it. Oh, my goodness. Wait a minute, I gotta have some coffee. You know, I had an interesting thing happen. I think I mentioned to you folks, and if I didn't, I apologize. A couple weeks ago, I believe it was, I was contacted by email from a company that is a cinematic marketing company. Yeah, they market movies. And you might remember, I don't know, it was either in late 2008 or early 2009, I reported on a story out of Florida of a group of people. Actually, it was two men that rented a house in Florida, in a well-to-do neighborhood, a very large house with lots of bedrooms. And then they brought young men into the house and had them. It was a cam house. They had 32 cameras, I think they said, all over the house. And it's almost, you almost couldn't go anywhere in the house, you know, without being on cam. So it was like their daily lives were on cam. And the website was called College Boys Live. I do believe the website is still in existence, doing the same thing. But a movie was made from that story, because see, what happened is they moved into the neighborhood and they were helping out some of these kids that had no place to go or got thrown out of their homes or had all these sad sack stories, you know, behind them. And anyway, it was all okay until the neighbors got wind of what was going on. And they had a neighborhood group, you know, that kind of had all their rules and regulations about what could go on in their neighborhood. And they took them to court and wanted to get them thrown out of the house because they were, quote unquote, running a business out of the house. You know, even the neighborhood group guy that ran that group stated, you know, well, if someone was making widgets in their house and selling widgets, we probably wouldn't say anything. But when you go by the house and you see two naked men in the hot tub in the backyard, that makes it a little different. That wasn't his exact words, but you get the gist of it. So anyway, now a movie has been made about this story. And the movie is called College Boys Live. And it talks about the guy who runs the whole thing, him and his lover, and some of the young men who have been college boys live. Not necessarily college boys, but they were CBL. Yeah, they get to live there in the house. They don't have to pay any rent. They get food. They, you know, just have to chat 2 hours a day online and get naked at least for the last 30 minutes of the chat. So 5 days a week, they got to chat for 2 hours. And they usually 6 months to a year, and then they rotate the boys out and get some fresh meat. So anyway, these folks said they wanted me to help them market this movie. So they said they would be more than happy to send me a DVD of the movie. So I wrote them back a little message, and I said, Gay Talk Radio and Queer Public Radio, for that matter, are community organizations. We're all about the community, the LGBTQIA community. I said, so I really, if I can give away the video after I view it and talk about it, if I can give it away to the listeners, then I would be interested. Otherwise, I wouldn't. Shock, amazement. They wrote me back and they said they would love me to give away the movie to the listeners of Gay Talk Radio. And I was like, oh, happy days. Yep. Anyway, so not only did they send me one DVD, they sent me three. 1, 2, 3, count 'em, baby. So you know what that means? I mean, number one, it means I get to keep one, because I was going to give away my copy. So I get to keep a copy. Not only that, but 2, count 'em, folks, 2 lucky listeners on Gay Talk Radio / Queer Park Public Radio. I'm just excited about this. I think this is cool, man. Y'all are going to get a chance to win a free movie. Yeah. A free DVD of College Boys Live, which is a new movie that is just now being released. I am excited about this. So I haven't decided exactly what I'm going to do yet. But what I'm thinking about is I'm going to have like phrase words or keywords and phrases or something along that line that I am going to state during the shows that we do on the station here. And I don't know how many I'm going to have yet. I haven't decided. I haven't put this in concrete yet what I'm going to do. But I'm sure this is what I'm leaning towards is having like 10 or 15 or whatever phrases and or keywords that I will say during the podcast and during the live shows that are not podcasts. We have one live show on Saturday nights where I do live mixing of music, and I take requests and I play your songs, right here on the station, live every Saturday night. And that's tonight. Hello. Okay. Just want to remind you, tonight, starting at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Pacific Time, I start doing a live mix-a-thon here on Gay Talk Radio / Queer Public Radio. I'm going to give out these key phrases during that show also. So that people can't just listen. I want people to listen to me live once in a while. I appreciate the podcast listeners. I do. We have far more podcast listeners than we'll probably ever have live listeners. And that's fine and dandy. I know everyone has a live, and that's the way our world is these days. It's a world of convenience, and that's why we have podcasts, so that you can listen to the podcast at your convenience. So, but the problem is now you're not going to get all the little keywords or key phrases on the podcast. Some of them are going to be on the Saturday night show that's live and is not a podcast. So, and at the end of it all, I don't know how long it's going to last. The contest I'm thinking might go on for at least 2 weeks, maybe a month. I'm not sure yet. College Boys Live. The movie. I watched it twice yesterday because I wanted to be knowledgeable when I talked about it today. But I'm not going to talk about it that much today. No, I'll be talking about it more maybe tonight. No, I doubt tonight. But maybe on Wednesday morning show. We all need to remember to contact our Congress. That is so very important. We have to let them know how we feel about issues that are important to us. So it's important that you contact your congressional members, even if you just send them email. That's what I do. I don't call them. I just send them email. But if you don't know who they are, there's many websites where you can find out, or you can just go to the horse's mouth, senate.gov, to find out who your senators are, or house.gov to find out where your House of Representatives are. Or who they are, I should say, not where they are. We all know where they are. They're out spending our money. Yeah. Oh, don't get me started now. Oh my goodness. Okay, where are we? And if you don't want to go to the websites or whatever, you can call the phone number. You can call the Capitol switchboard at 202-224-3121. And once again, why is that number not 222222222? Is our government sending us a message? I mean, if we want to call shouldn't our government have like a really simple number that everybody could if it was just 222222222, everyone could remember that, and everybody could pick up their phone and just push 222222222. Boom, you get the United States Capitol. But no, they got to give us this convoluted number that we got to write down and look up. And what kind of message are they sending, huh? I think I'll send an email to them and remind them of that. Well, what we do here on our Saturday show is I do a kind of a roundup or a week summary of the news. That's obviously the news that is for our community. On my Wednesday morning show, I kind of do the same thing. So what happens here is that since I'm doing a show on Wednesday and I'm doing a show on Saturdays, that between Saturday and Wednesday, I pick up news articles that I want to talk about on Wednesday. And then between Thursday and Saturday, I pick up news articles I want to talk about on Saturday. But on Saturday, I also do a summary of what we talked about on Wednesday. So that's where we are now. Yeah, we're doing a summary about stuff we talked about Wednesday morning. Yeah, for this, because people who don't have time to listen 2 times a week can basically catch the gist of it on Saturdays. And if you're in the chat room and there's something you want the URL to it, just tell me in the chat room, and I'll be more than happy to paste the URL in the chat room for you so you can go read the actual original article that I got the story from. Yeah. Let's see. So in our first article, we went to Australia, where we talked about a gay dog that was barred from a restaurant there. Yeah, it was a Adelaide, the city of Adelaide in Australia, is a restaurant called Thai Spice. They have a sign outside that says guide dogs are welcome. For blind people. Yeah, right. I'm with you. A sign for blind people. Anyway. This person went into, I think he was with his girlfriend, if I remember correctly, went into this restaurant, and they asked, well, I guess the girlfriend didn't see the sign, who knows. I asked if it was okay if they came into the restaurant with a guide dog. But the waiter stated in the court, yeah, I went to court. The waiter stated in court that he thought they said gay dog. And the owner testified in court that the staff genuinely believed that the dog was at one time an ordinary pet dog, but had been desexed to become a gay dog. Anyway, the restaurant was ordered to pay $1,500 in compensation by the court, and apologize to Mr. Jolly, and to attend a diversity training course. A gay dog. Now let's see. Oh man, this story we talked about on Wednesday morning, and it's linked to another story. I forgot about this that I got for today. So I'll just kind of link them together here. Remember the other day when we spoke about the 6 veterans who were arrested for handcuffing themselves to the White House fence Yeah, then in this particular story, we talked about Autumn Sandine. Autumn is a trans woman. I've had email correspondence with Autumn on a couple occasions. She is nothing but intelligent, informed, and kind. She reported that during her arrest that she was referred to as a shim and a it. For those of you who don't know, a shim is a reference to a she, him. A she, him. Ridiculous. Anyway, I told the story about how Autumn was treated very improperly by federal officials. By U.S. Marshals at the D.C. Superior Courthouse. They were making fun of her, and it's all on camera, and they're trying to get a copy of that section of the camera under the Freedom of Information Act. And we would all like to see that video, I think. Yeah. But interesting enough, and I got another story coming up tomorrow. Tomorrow on Sunday, I'll tell more about this in a minute, but tomorrow on Sunday there's going to be another one of these events in front of the White House. And somebody that we spoke to over a year ago here on Gay Talk Radio is going to be participating in that. I have already emailed him, and it looks like we might be getting him back on Gay Talk Radio. More on that when we know more. Ashburn, Senator Ashburn, the California Senator Ashburn, the one who got arrested for a DUI leaving the area of a gay bar with a, to date, unidentified male passenger in the vehicle with him. He got sentenced to, 48 hours in jail and 3 years of probation for that DUI. Doesn't it make you feel good to know that the senator got such a light sentence, knowing that we would all be treated that way? Yeah, right. Anyway, the San Francisco LGBT Pride Celebration Community has announced that they're giving him the 2010 Pink Brick Award. It's an award which is given each year to a person or institution whose actions have caused the most significant harm to the LGBT community. And this year marks the first time they have ever given this out to a gay person. Or I should say an out gay person. Because he's out now, After he got caught in the gay area with a guy in the car with him on a DUI, all of a sudden he came out. Yeah. Oh, and then I told you on Wednesday about the Equality Ride, sponsored by Soulforce, wonderful people at Soulforce, and the Equality Ride, which goes to colleges which weren't maybe a little needing in the diversity department, and they go to try to speak with these students. Many of those campuses do not allow them on the property, so they have to set up across the way or in a parking lot nearby, and students come out of the university to come talk to them. They are the young people traveling on a bus across the country to different universities, different campuses, and talking to people about diversity, about equality, about how we are all human beings. I applaud the work of Soulforce and the Equality Ride, because they are awesome. And we got some good news from that gay bashing legal case up there in the Vancouver area. Yeah, you remember the story way back, I believe it was in 2008, late part of 2008. Two gay men were walking down Davie Street in Vancouver, which is like the Gayborhood. There's a gay flag on every single corner there for many, many blocks. They got bashed right there on Davie Street, right there in the Gayborhood. Yeah. Broke the guy's jaw. One of the partners broke his jaw. And the guy tried to say that it had nothing to do with the guys being gay, that he was just got into that physical altercation because they had the audacity to respond to the gentleman's anti-gay remarks. Ridiculous. Thomas C. Waters has been working overtime this week. My good friend Thomas C. Waters over at thomascwaters.com. Yeah, he wrote 2 stories this week that one I talked about on Wednesday. And it was the partial findings that I'm reporting on here of a poll which asked gay males, if there was a pill to make you straight, would you take it? Interestingly enough, males between 18 and 24 were the most likely to take the pill. And that number gradually fell off as they approached 50 years old and over. Yeah, a very small percentage. I was dumbfounded by that. But it makes a statement, and you stop and think about it a little bit, and it makes a statement about society. That these young people are basically making the statement that says, hell yeah, I'd take the pill because, I'm tired of all the bullshit. It makes the statement about society. And then on Wednesday, I told a little story about Elton John writing a letter, an open letter to the world, but more poignantly, specifically to Ryan White, the teenager that died of HIV complications so many years ago, like 20 years ago. Ryan White. And Elton John befriended Ryan White, and he wrote a letter. Oh, I'm going to read the letter again for those of you that didn't get to hear it on Wednesday. Elton John writes this letter, which was posted in the Washington Post, I believe. The Washington Post. Said, Dear Ryan, 20 years ago this month you died of AIDS. I would gladly give my fame and fortune if only I could have one more conversation with you, the friend who changed my life, as well as the lives of millions living with HIV. Instead, I have written you this letter. I remember so well when we first met. A young boy with a terrible disease, you were the epitome of grace. You never blamed anyone for your illness that ravaged your body or the torment and stigma you endured. When students, parents, and teachers in your community shunned you, threatened you, and expelled you from school, you responded not with words of hate, but with understanding beyond your years. You said they were simply afraid of what they did not know. When the media heralded you as an innocent victim because you had contracted AIDS through a blood transfusion, you rejected that label and stood in solidarity with thousands of HIV-positive women and men. You reminded America that all victims of AIDS are innocent. When you became a celebrity, you embraced the opportunity to educate the nation about the AIDS epidemic, even though your only wish was to live an ordinary life. Ryan, I wish you could know how much the world has changed since 1990 and how much you changed it. Just as a side note, Elton, Ryan knows. Young boys and girls with HIV attend school and take medicine that allows them to lead normal lives. Children in America are seldom born with the virus, and they no longer contract it through transfusions. The insults and injustices you suffered are not tolerated by society. Most important, Ryan, you inspired awareness, which helped lead to life-saving treatments. In 1990, 4 months after you died, Congress passed the Ryan White Care Act, which now provides more than $2 billion each year for AIDS medicine and treatment for 500,000 Americans. Today, countless people with HIV live long, productive lives. It breaks my heart that you are not one of them. You were 18 when you died, and you would be 38 this year, if only the current treatments existed when you were sick. I think about this every day because America needs your message of compassion as never before. Ryan, when you were alive, your story sparked a national conversation about AIDS. But despite all the progress in the past 20 years, the dialogue has waned. I know you would be trying to revive it if you were here today. When the epidemic continues to strike nearly every demographic group with more than 50,000 new infections in the United States every year. I know you would be loudly calling for the national HIV/AIDS strategy that was promised by President Obama but has not yet been delivered. I know you would reach out to young people. I know you would work tirelessly to help everyone suffering from HIV, including those who live on the margins of society. It would sadden you that today, in certain parts of the United States, some poor people with AIDS are still placed on waiting lists to receive treatment. It would anger you that your government is still not doing enough to help vulnerable people with HIV in populations that are at risk of contracting the virus, including sexually active teenagers. It would upset you that AIDS is a leading cause of death among African Americans. It would frustrate you that even though hundreds of thousands of HIV-positive Americans are receiving treatment in your name, more than 200,000 don't know their HIV-positive status, largely because of the lingering stigma surrounding the disease that prevents them from being tested. It would disappoint you that many teenagers do not have access to science-based HIV prevention programs in school at a time when half of the new infections are believed to be among people under 25. I miss you so very much, Ryan. I was by your side when you died at Riley Hospital. You've been with me every day since. You inspired me to change my life and carry on your work. Because of you, I'm still in the struggle against AIDS 20 years later. I pledge to not rest until we achieve the compassion for which you so bravely and beautifully fought. Your friend, Elton. You know, so many wonderful points were made in that. Goodness gracious. People, don't let other people pull your strings. We all have special gifts. We're all special in our own way. Live your life, people. Okay, let's see. What else did I have here? I talked about a Florida man that was charged with killing his daughter's lesbian lover. They've been together for 3 years. His daughter's lover was 24-year-old Courtney Bright. He strangled her and left her body in a foreclosed house. The body was discovered by people house hunting. The father's trying to say that he did it because, she was corrupting his daughter, because his daughter got arrested for stolen property, and it was all her girlfriend's fault. So he decided to go kill her. Yeah, but of course, a friend of the daughter states that is not why he killed her. He killed her because they were lesbians. I guess we'll see what happens on that. Maybe we'll hear more about it. Folks, just the fact that these people are making excuses, that makes a statement. We have to read between the lines sometimes. In other words, this guy knows what he did was wrong. And he knows that if he says he did it because they were lesbian, that he won't have a leg to stand on in court. Not that he has a leg to stand on anyway, trying to say that he killed her because his daughter got arrested for being in possession of stolen property. Does anyone else think that sounds any better? They're both ridiculous. But in his own small mind, he thinks it sounds better. There is no justification for murdering someone. Well, I take that back. There is. If they're trying to murder somebody else, like if I was standing there and I saw him trying to choke that girl to death, yeah, I could have taken action and done something. And that would be a rightful thing to do. But I mean, I wouldn't be trying to kill the guy. I'm trying to get him off the girl. I mean, he could have moved. Could have taken his daughter and moved. That would have solved the problem. There's so many other things he could have done, not gone and killed the girl. And we heard about some Florida ministers while we were in Florida that they had a rally in support of gay rights. In fact, in support of a gay rights ordinance in the Tallahassee area in Florida. And one of them said a wonderful thing. A Jewish lady, Cantor Tanya Greenblatt, from the Temple Israel there in the Tallahassee area, said, "This is a human rights issue. Those who say that this is a homosexual rights agenda are hiding behind God and Scripture to enforce an outdated, bigoted worldview." I love that one. Awesome. I also told on Wednesday about a sit-in, a don't ask, don't tell sit-in in Senator John McCain's office. Of course, they were arrested and hauled off. They were sitting there in hopes that John McCain would stand up. Yeah, he probably stood up all right. He stood up so he could leave the office. Anyway, let's see. On Thursday, we heard that, and this because I reported on Wednesday, Thursday flags were flown at half-mast. In fact, I heard that Obama got teary-eyed when he gave the speech, his little speech at the ceremony at her funeral in Washington D.C. Yeah, wow. For Dorothy Height. In case I forgot to mention that part, Dorothy Height is who I was talking about, who died at 98 years of age last week. Yeah. And then in the Memphis area, Memphis has got to be the hellhole of the United States, or one of them anyway. I mean, let's not forget that's where Martin Luther King was murdered. That's where Duana Johnson was murdered, as well as several other transgendered people. And many others. And now crime is being committed 3 times within the last 9 months against the Memphis Gay and Lesbian Center. Yeah. While I'm mentioning Duana Johnson, the trial of the officer who beat her and got fired, who beat her while she was in custody, which was caught on videotape in the processing room at the jail, where he was beating her with handcuffs on his hand, using them as brass knuckles, and Duane Johnson was found in an execution-style murder with one single bullet hole in her head. About a month later, or 2 months later, it was in November of 2008 or 2009. Maybe it was 2009. I don't have the date on here. Anyway, when he went to court, there was one juror who held out. Evidently, in those cases, he was up against federal charges for abuse, and in those cases, evidently, it requires that every single juror agree. One juror did not agree that it was 1 out of 12 did not agree that it was police abuse. Ended up in a hung jury. They declared a mistrial. We haven't heard whether the federal authorities will pursue this any further. Jeez. Anyway, if you're in the Seattle area, here are a couple places of interest you might want to know about, Tricone Northwest. It's TRIKONENW.org. TriconeNW.org. It's a supportive and affirming community for LGBTQ and differently oriented South Asians that are located in the Pacific Northwest. There's also the Grace Gospel Chapel. They're located at Grace Gospel WA. WA stands for Washington. GraceGospelWA.org. The oldest independent evangelical LGBT church in the United States. Cool. If I was closer, I'd probably go, but I'm really not too strong on the Christian beliefs. No, I'm spiritual, but I don't think there's some old man up there with a big white beard or whatever that's looking down on us, making all these judgment calls. No, I don't. Let's see, I have an update actually on this next article that I talked about on Wednesday. I talked about how in Florida they had wording in because many states have an incentive program for movie makers to come to their state to make movies. And these incentive programs have wording as to what they're going to offer and what they want, and blah, 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 blah. Well, in Florida, theirs was radical, and of course, I like words. Surprise, surprise, surprise! Yeah, they basically didn't want anybody in Florida making movies that were against traditional family values or had vulgar or profane language, gratuitous violence, smoking, sex, nudity, all these things they weren't interested in. Basically, and then in the bottom line, they were stating, unless it's suitable for viewing by children age 5 or older, they don't want it. And I heard from the gentleman that set up the petition about this, and he said that some of the wording has been changed and or removed. So, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Thank you. I want to thank that gentleman for contacting me on Twitter. Let's see, what else did I talk about Wednesday? I talked about the story about a young man. He's a blogger. He's in his 20s. God, I can't remember the blog he's associated with now. Goodness gracious, I feel bad. And I didn't write it down. Anyway, he pretended like he was a teenager, and he called this show, this Dawson McAllister show, which is a syndicated show. It's on 120 radio stations or so across the United States through Clear Channel Communications, who has a wonderful diversity policy in place. Anyway, so this gentleman called and pretended like he was a 16-year-old that was a little conflicted with his sexuality. And they recommended him to Exodus International. And, of course, it hit the blogs like crazy. And once it does that, everybody knows about it. And Clear Channel, I'm sure, got quite a few communiques from people as well. They contacted Mr. Dawson McAllister about his show and about how that is against the policy of Clear Channel. And they gave him 3 ultimatums. Number 1, remove any reference to Exodus from their website. Number 2, don't ever refer people to Exodus through their phone-in system, and have no further contact and or in any way promote Exodus. So within days after this happened, the Grand Poobah of Exodus, Mr. Alan Chambers, was screaming and yelling. Now, I have to put a little side note in that Alan Chambers actually pursued Exodus, because Exodus International was run by a different gentleman. I should say it was created by a different gentleman who fell in love with another gentleman that was involved with Exodus, and they actually gave up Exodus, walked away from it, and have apologized since to the gay community for all the harm that they brought to members of our community. Well, then Alan Chambers stepped in and decided to take it. And, to him, it's all about religion. Yeah. And he said that Mr. Dawson McAllister might not be so religious after all, if he's all worried about the money. Of course, Alan Chambers isn't worried about the money at all, is he? No, he's not worried about he never says a word about the income loss because of this radio station not promoting him. No, he never mentions that. His whole screaming and yelling is religious. But why I brought this story up, because it's interesting that, representatives of Exodus went to Uganda. That kind of started this whole thing, if you ask me. In Uganda, the Kill the Gays bill that's going on down there in Uganda. It was all kind of Exodus International had a big part in that. Sent people down there as if they were experts in the field of, and I guess they are if you believe homosexual conversion therapy is valid, which it is not. Anyway, do you know, after all this talk about Exodus International being involved in Uganda, it took 180 days later before Alan Chambers ever made a public comment about it. 180 days before Alan Chambers ever made a public comment about the Uganda situation. But after this radio show situation, 7 days later, 7! Ridiculous. And then he went on a show that's not on the Clear Channel network, and spoke with a gentleman by the name of Pat Campbell at KFAQ in Oklahoma, and it was funny because during the show the host asked Alan Chambers, "Why is the gay community so upset about this?" And he asked him twice. There wasn't an answer. Didn't give an answer. So I thought I would answer Mr. Pat Campbell. The answer to your question is that the vast majority of professional medical organizations, the APA, the AMA, and many others worldwide have stated that homosexuality is not an illness and there is no approved treatment since it is not an illness. In fact, they further state that the treatment Exodus and others practice can be harmful and has caused people to commit suicide. Ridiculous. All right, so that's all the stuff I talked about on Wednesday. Now we're getting to the new news. All righty, in our new news, where do we go here? Let's see, in our first article for new news here for the week, we got in a recent article. I noticed that Obama is now saying he will fight for new campaign finance rules. Hey, Obama, you need a wake-up call. You know, Mr. Obama, it's very interesting that you would make such a statement because I don't remember you saying a damn thing when the Supreme Court decided corporations were the same as citizens when it came to political donations. Mr. Obama all of a sudden states, no less than the integrity of our democracy is at stake. Mr. Obama, I guess the integrity of our democracy wasn't at stake when the Supreme Court made our politicians nothing more than another commodity that can be bought and sold to the highest bidder. Ha! Jeez, you get an award for that one. There you go. Oh, I was kind of shocked this morning. I went over to America blog, because we've heard a lot about them lately, with all the stuff going on in Washington, D.C., and they've been right on top of it, and I appreciate them, but ouch, I went to their website this morning to read an article, and it seems there's a problem on their site that's been infected with some kind of virus. I find that quite interesting. Perhaps someone or some organization didn't like something because it would seem the America blog site has been attacked and is now infected. I think that's just kind of interesting considering those folks have been on top of things in D.C. and now all of a sudden their website is infected. I hope it gets corrected soon. Folks, my birthday's in 3 days. I'm going to be 54 years old in 3 days. Yeah. For many years now, my birthday has had an uncomfortable reminder attached to it. That uncomfortable reminder is the atrocity of Kent State. Because my birthday is on May 4th. And the atrocity of Kent State happened on May 4th, 40 years ago, this year. People never forget Kent State. Never forget the Ohio National Guard shot and killed 4 college students on American soil on May 4th, 1970. USA Today posted a recent article about it. In the article, they spoke to a few who were there that day. Gary Lounsdale was one. He said, "Even today it evokes a lot of emotion. There was a feeling of vulnerability. All these years later, I'm still angry about it." Bill Mulvihill was another they spoke with, and he said you couldn't fathom that we as a society in the United States would shoot students on campus no matter what. We were stunned. Then it became anger, and then anger turned into action. University of Cincinnati students, 5,000 or more, marched on downtown Cincinnati the next day. There were rallies, sit-ins, silent vigils. Student strikes disrupted hundreds of campuses across the nation. A presidential commission on campus unrest later described it as a time of the deepest U.S. social division since the Civil War. At Cincinnati University on the morning of May 8th, notices were posted on dormitory doors and around campus that school was closing. Everyone had to leave. Buildings were locked down. Students flooded away by car, bus, or plane. The police shootings on May 14th of 14 more students, 2 of them fatally on the campus of Jackson, Mississippi State University in added to the worries about whether schools should even resume classes. It's kind of a blur, says then senior Connie Romine. So on May 14th, 14 students, 2 of them fatally. That was a good year, huh? 1970 was a good year, yeah. But Connie says it's kind of a blur. She says, I just remember seeing the National Guard lined up across Court Street. You felt as if you were in another country. Guns with bayonets on them aimed at college students. Lounsdale says he was treated for post-traumatic stress disorder and survivor's guilt in the Kent aftermath, and he can still hardly bear to see the iconic 1970 photo of an anguished young woman kneeling beside one of the Kent State victims. He was one of the first University of Cincinnati grads to respond to the graduation invitation. They're having a... You see, these people, none of these people got to have their graduation. Their commencement ceremonies did not happen that year. Something that they worked so hard for and probably looked forward to for so long. It never happened for those people. So they're trying to have another graduation. They've been invited to various graduation ceremonies over the years to make up for their lost commencement ceremonies. And he says he's eager to see old classmates and to compare memories and feelings and learn about their lives since the spring of 1970. He says he's curious to know, how did they make out? What were their experiences? He said this is a fantastic moment for the class that never graduated. Another one they spoke was with Marcia Epstein, who runs a nanny placement business that she founded at her home in Newtonville, Massachusetts. She keeps a box that she received 40 years ago containing her diploma, her grade report, and a letter from the dean. Over the years, her parents died, but she's going to be accompanied at the graduation by her two sons. She says it's bittersweet, that it's a chance for a little more closure, a chance to have more than what I called my graduation in a box. She said she will go there and hug everybody. Sad story. Don't forget Kent State. You know, people, I think if we all remembered every bit of history that our government has inflicted upon citizens of this country, I don't know. Onwards. This article I titled Ridiculous Statements by Powerful People. Military leaders have warned that fat Americans are a national security threat. According to them, more than 35% of young Americans are now too fat to join the military. Yeah, two former chairman, they're now retired, two former chairmen of the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff wrote that obesity rates threaten the overall health of America and the future strength of our military. We consider this problem so serious from a national security perspective that we have joined more than 130 other retired generals, admirals, and senior military leaders in calling on Congress to pass new child nutrition legislation. Isn't that wonderful? That the leaders in our country are so worried about the kids. No, it is not. It would be wonderful if they were concerned about the health and well-being of the kids. But they don't want to do this for that reason. They don't want to do it to help the kids. They don't care if the kids are fat. They're not worried about the health of the kids. They want to do it for national security reasons. That's definitely a load of beef. And not in a good way, baby. In an announcement this week, Obama said that he's tabling immigration reform. Tabling it. It's done. We're done. This means the United American Family Act, UAFA, is gone. Some say it's still on the table there in Congress. And I say, if it is, by the time it gets to the end of the table, there ain't going to be nothing in it for us. And in my opinion, this is a sad day for binational couples. Because you have heard me say so many times before about how a heterosexual person has every right to bring their spouse into the United States. If their spouse is from another country, boom, it's a done deal, baby, no problem. Just gotta have a little bit of money, jump through a couple hoops, and lots of red tape, but it's a done deal. It's there. The law's on the books. It's available for heterosexuals. It is not available for homosexuals. That's what the UAFA is all about. The Uniting American Family Act. Whatever it is. I don't think it's going to happen. Here we go. Don't ask, don't tell. We heard a letter from Robert Gates, who is the defense secretary this week, and he strongly is opposed to removing Don't Ask, Don't Tell this year. He claims that legislative repeal prior to the completion of the DOD study would send a very damaging message to our men and women in uniform that, in essence, their views and concerns and perspectives do not matter. Hey, Robert Gates, you know, of course, that some of those men and women that you're speaking about in uniform are gay. I guess they don't count, huh? Because they're a minority? Yeah, that's what I thought. One of the comments in this article put it very well. There's comments on the bottom of the article by people that have read the article. A couple of them I jotted down because I was so impressed by them. This one, and here I was forgetting the gays and lesbians were also men and women serving in the armed forces. It reminds me of when they say our tax dollars going to the gay agenda. In another comment, the Constitution gave all Americans full equality over 140 years ago. What is so hard to understand about that? Theoretically, that is what the Reconstruction era amendments to the Constitution are about. We thought Obama understood that, and that he believed that we deserved to be included in this country. Instead, what he understood is that he would not win without our votes, so he promised us enough to ensure that we would provide his margin of victory. He has not delivered and continues to show that he won't or doesn't know how to deliver. And an update on that gay bashing in Vancouver, the trial, where the guy had to attend his trial by teleconference because he was in jail. Yeah. The justice has ruled in this Vancouver case, and he said some awesome things when he did so. Justice Joel Groves called the assault vicious and senseless. He said a severe sentence was needed for Michael Condola and sentenced him to 17 months in prison. But he did give him credit for his time served, which was 5 months, so he'll spend the next year behind bars. The judge stated, hatred is a motivation in this crime. There is no other explanation for what happened. Mr. Condola must know that his actions are not only contrary to the law, but are abhorred in Canada society. It is hard to fathom in this day and age how two men holding hands can cause such a visceral reaction. In Canada, people are free to live their lives as they choose, be they heterosexual or homosexual. Oh my goodness, that was a wonderful one. Oh, wow, I wish I lived in Canada. The LGBT family member who was physically assaulted was not able to attend the sentencing session, but his partner was there, and the ruling brought him to tears. He said, wow. I didn't realize I would be so emotional about it, he said. It should make people aware. He says, I love how the judge said Canada is not a place that accepts this kind of behavior. The judge also hopes that the sentence should act as a deterrent to those who might also consider crimes motivated by hatred. He said those who act like he did on September 27, 2008 must know that there are real consequences for their behavior. Wow. Awesome. This next story amazed me. This was amazing. Remember during the Proposition 8 election in California when they had that big Christian rally in San Diego at the Qualcomm Stadium? The guy that set that up is named Lou Engle. Guess what? Lou's doing the same thing in Uganda tomorrow. No. Yeah, he's scheduled to hold a rally all day, an anti-gay rally, stadium event, going by the name of The Call Uganda Rally. Yeah, it's going to be at the Makariri, I don't know how to say that, University Sports Field in Kampala, Uganda. Gee, that's going to help out a whole bunch over there, Lou. I hope the religious folks out there keep up the good work because they are doing quite well at showing the rest of the world how out of touch they are with reality. When they have to go to third world countries for converts and believers, that makes a huge statement, folks. It makes a statement about their desperation. I've stated over and over and over again about the desperation of the Christian community in this world. Yeah, because the Christian religion is losing numbers. The only religion in the world that's actually gaining numbers, as far as I know, is the Muslim religion. Anyway, in their small minds, these kind of people think that they are doing a righteous thing. I think that's awesome because it means they will continue to show their absurdity to the rest of the world. And they will continue to watch their numbers decline. Now, remember, I mentioned ThomasCWaters.com. Thomas C. Waters writes some awesome stuff. You know, I hadn't seen this article anywhere on the net, but Thomas C. Waters had it on his site about a Pittsburgh performer who was assaulted Thursday night in what appears to be a gay bashing. Her name is Veruca. Veruca and two other friends were in drag. They were on Liberty Avenue. Everything I hear Liberty Avenue, I think about queer as folk. Outside of the Pleasure Bar on Liberty Avenue, there were three drunks when Veruca and her friends arrived. As soon as they saw them, the three drunks immediately began yelling slurs and taunts. Quickly, it escalated from taunts to a physical altercation in the street and in front of the Pleasure Bar. Veruca was punched, and at one point she fell, where she was kicked and hit repeatedly. At one point, the manager came out of the Pleasure Bar and pulled the three drunks off Veruca and told them to get lost. Interestingly enough, the bouncer didn't do a thing. But the manager refused them to allow them back into the bar. Veruca and her friends started to walk away during all this, but the drunks followed them and caught up with them a bit further down the street and began the beating all over again. The following night, last night, Friday night, there was a rally. When I hear more about the rally, I'll let you know about it. Out of the blue, Hawaii. Yeah. Hawaii. The Congress passed the Civil Unions Bill. Shock! I really am. Wow.
Hello. 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 Hello.
Yeah, out of the blue. Congress passed, the Hawaiian Congress passed their Civil Unions Bill. It's now on the governor's desk. We'll see what happens. I'm like, wow. In this article, the next article is what I'm going to call the awesome news category. You know, we have a story from Seattle. from the Seattle Gay News site, or SGN. The article was written by Sean Niddle. Oh, Sean, I hope I said your name right. Sean tells us about a gentleman named Hudson Taylor. He's a 23-year-old University of Maryland wrestling star and an academic All-American. Hudson Taylor is the epitome of a straight ally. Hudson is also a wrestler who is ranked in the top 3 in the country in his weight class. Mr. Obama, if you want to see what a fierce advocate looks like, I suggest you look at Hudson Taylor. Here are some of Hudson's thoughts. The rights of LGBT persons are important to me for so many reasons. He continues, equal rights for the gay community are important to me as an American, as a member of a larger society, as a person brought up with a strong social ethic and sense of moral responsibility, and as a regular person in a loving relationship with my life partner. Yeah, he has a fiance. A girl. He's straight. Remember, he's straight. This guy's an ally. He says, I love the United States. I honor this country and respect its ideals, institutions, and laws. And because of that profound respect, I question our legal system when I feel that it is acting unjustly. He continues, this country is strong and inspiring because it develops. It acknowledges its errors and it rectifies them. I believe that our integrity as a people, as a country, demands that we acknowledge the equality of LGBT persons and afford them the same legal protections that we afford the heterosexual and non-transgender community. Furthermore, as a member of our larger society, I feel a deep sense of responsibility for our country's history. When there is an injustice, I have to try my best to rectify it. LGBT equal rights are morally and legally sound. I cannot think of one argument against LGBT equality that does not include undertones of spiteful prejudice. That kind of tenor will never be part of my life or my narrative as a member of society. As a man who wants to enter the institution of marriage and raise a family, I cannot imagine how I would feel if my country disrespected me so much as to prohibit me from legitimizing my romantic love with a consenting adult and parental relationship with my child through bigoted marriage and adoption laws. Family, sex, and romance are fundamental parts of the human experience. The discourse and institutional labels and categories we assign to those parts of our lives can affect the quality of those experiences. LGBT equality should be at the forefront of all Americans' minds. Gay, straight, young, old, religious, or not. This is not a special interest. This is an American interest and a moral interest. He says, I chose to wear the HRC logo on my headgear when I wrestled because I felt that the symbol was a fairly well-known image of LGBT equality. I wanted my peers to notice the equality symbol and immediately understand the LGBT equal rights movement's message of freedom and fairness. I encountered some opposition from teammates regarding my LGBT advocacy and feminism, especially the decision to choose a new last name with my fiancé. I think that my candor makes some peers feel uncomfortable. Perhaps they worry that my stances could reflect on them in an undesirable way. I am stunned when I see people go to great lengths to preserve bigotry against the LGBT community, while I try to understand these individuals' viewpoints and create a healthy dialogue with them. I also don't dwell on that negativity. I receive so much support and encouragement from my teammates, family, friends, and the public. This positive feedback completely overcomes any unconstructive or disapproving feedback. I focus on the positive, stay true to myself, and move forward with the support of those who love me. Taylor told SGN that because of his pro-LGBT equality views, he has been accused of being gay. He said the accusations are pretty rare because I have a very active and present fiancé in my life. The accusations don't bother me at all. The only thing that bothers me is that some people think that gay rights advocacy exists only among the gay community, and thus any LGBT activist you meet must be gay. He says he worries that these illogical accusations actually reflect a silence and inaction among heterosexual community regarding LGBT rights. That was an awesome statement there, because nothing could be more true. He continues, I have been blessed with the opportunities to publicly support LGBT equal rights. I will continue to be an adamant supporter of equality in my private life, and I will pursue any and all opportunities to continue advocating in the public domain. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, Mr. Hudson Taylor. Okay, let's see. In our next article, we run to Mississippi, and I thought this article was about McMillan when I first saw it, but no, it wasn't. This is a whole separate case. Mississippi high school cuts out a lesbian student from the yearbook. Totally. Yeah. When Mississippi high school student Sierra Sturgis opened her yearbook on April 23rd, she could not find her photo. The ugly truth of the matter is, the Wesson Attendance Center school officials had purposely not included her photo. In fact, not only did they not include her picture, they didn't even mention her name in the entire yearbook. The ACLU wrote back in October demanding that officials use the photo. The school district's Copiah County school district officials refused. The ACLU has not confirmed if it plans any legal action. The mother of the child was furious. She stated there were students in there that were arrested on drug charge, people have been in jail, people that had dropped out. She said there was even a student in the yearbook that had dropped out, didn't even graduate. Her daughter was had excellent grades, and actually the school had voted her to be prom queen, but she backed out because she knew the school would never tolerate that. Ridiculous. And the next story here, let's see, tomorrow, get ready. Tomorrow, the good folks at Get Equal are planning a protest in front of the White House again. They're going to demand that Obama immediately include don't ask, don't tell repeal language in the defense authorization transmittals to Congress. Speakers at the protest will include Lieutenant Dan Choi, Captain Jim Petrangelo II, Lieutenant Robin Charasi, sorry if I pronounced your names wrong, and Corporal Evelyn Thomas, Specialist Gerald Klopowski, I hope, Major Mike Almy, Captain Tanya Domi, Corporal Brett Edward Stout, Sergeant Brian Fricke, and Sergeant Justin Elzy. The numbers are growing. You might have recognized one of those names. Well, I'm sure you recognize more than one, but you might have recognized one of them directly related here to Gay Talk Radio, and that name was Brett Edward Stout. Because in January of 2009, I spoke with Brett Edward Stout right here on Gay Talk Radio. In fact, when I heard this article, I posted that show on Queer Public Radio. So if you want to hear that show where I spoke with Brett Edward Stout, he's an author, he's a book author. He wrote a book called Sugar Baby Bridge, and that's what I was speaking with him about, was his book. He's an ex-Marine. He's got out of the Marines with honorable discharge. I'm so proud of you, Brett. I mean, wow. I told Brett in the email, I contacted him by email, and I told him that is so awesome when I saw your name and that you're going to participate in this and probably go to jail, for us, for all of us, for every single one of us. These people aren't just standing up for don't ask, don't tell. Look at the big picture. These people are standing up for you and me and every one of us that are part of the LGBTQIA community. These people are going to jail for you. I know some of you might be sitting out there saying, no, Tom, it's about don't ask, don't tell. It's not about the gay community. Well, sure, it's about the gay community. Give me a break. It's about gays in the military. It's about the gay community. Do you really, has our government really corrupted your thinking so much that you can think there's some type of division in here? Because if in your mind there is some type of division, if our community is divided somehow in your mind, then somebody has accomplished a terrible thing with you. Because we cannot be a divided community to be successful, folks. Anyway, I sent an email to Brett, and I said, thank you, and you are standing up for, I would be there. If I could, I would be there myself. They're standing up for all of us. They're going to jail for all of us. Captain Jim Petrangelo and Lieutenant Dan Choi have already been in. Who else? I think Corporal Everland Thomas. I don't remember. I think Sergeant Brian Fricke, too. There were 6 of them last time, and they all went to jail. There was 2 of them the first time. They went to jail. They've gone to jail twice. And tomorrow they're going to go to jail the 3rd time. And Brett's going to be with them. So I sent Brett an email. And I said, oh, Brett, such awesomeness. I told him, I said, please, from Gay Talk Radio, from me, from our listeners, from Queer Public Radio, please tell all the people that were there with you that we thank them for standing up for all of us. And I also told him that he's quite welcome to be on Gay Talk Radio or Queer Public Radio, however you want to look at it, anytime he so desires. And he said he would love to be on Gay Talk Radio again. And he even told me he might be able to get some of those other people on Gay Talk Radio. I got so excited. I'm like, my God, this is a wonderful week. Here it is. It's going to be my birthday in 3 days. And I think these are the most wonderful birthday presents I have ever received in my life. To receive the free movie and to be able to give 2 copies of it away to the listeners on Gay Talk Radio is a wonderful, wonderful thing. That I'm just busting out with just awesomeness. And then for Brett Edward Stout to go stand up like this and tell me that, hey, we'll see, I can get you some more people, to come on. Maybe some of these other people will come on with me, or you can have separate shows or whatever. Whatever they want to do, baby, it's all yours. I will open up the airways anytime, any day for you people. Anytime, any day. In my next story, go to Washington, D.C., a weird thing happened. Washington, D.C. Mayor's office is a little bit red-faced this week. It appears the Mayor's office awarded the PFOX group. PFOX, do you know who PFOX is? Just in case you don't, PFOX, according to them, stands for Parents and Friends of Ex-Gays and Gays. Now, I don't know if it's just me, but when you say you got a group that's called Parents and Friends of Ex-Gays and Gays, now, I don't buy it. I don't buy it for a minute, because ex-gays and gays are on 2 different pages in the book, baby. And you can't support both. You cannot go around saying that gays can be cured and saying you're supportive of gays. It doesn't go together. Those puzzle pieces do not fit. PFOX is a group which promotes conversion therapy for gays. They're all religious crap. When I contacted when contacted the mayor's office offers this explanation of why they gave a recognition award to these people. And the official explanation from the mayor's office in Washington, D.C. says a staff error, an error was made when the request for the certificate in question was fulfilled. We apologize for the error as it runs contrary to the mayor's vision of a more open and inclusive city. Well, thank you, Mayor, for clearing that up. Hey, we're all human people. We are all human. We make mistakes. And, if you look at the name, if he'd never heard of the organization before, or someone in his staff never heard of this organization before, and they said, Parents and Friends of Ex-Gays and Gays. So, that title kind of leads you to believe that they are friends of gays, that they are a good thing, that we like them. We do not like them. We do not like them at all. I got to thank Jeffy Jeff. Jeff used to be around here quite a bit. And he sent me an email today. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for sending me the news. He sent me some news coming out of California regarding the current federal district court Proposition 8 trial. If you remember, there was that testimony from that William Tam, Dr. William Tam, the Asian guy, that was very damaging to the pro-Proposition 8 group. I'm not going to bother reporting what that nutcase said. You look up the name William Tam, T-A-M, regarding Proposition 8. You'll see all the ridiculous statements that he made. Ridiculous statements. And you would be able to very easily understand why the Yes on 8 group would want that testimony removed if it could be removed. Now, this email that Jeff sent me said, according to the Courage Campaign, which is a nonprofit, the Courage Campaign is stating that the Yes on 8 people are now trying to get the testimony removed from the court record. I haven't seen any articles on this, and the Courage Campaign announcement of that was a simple, about that many words, about three sentences, 1 paragraph about this, William Tam. The whole rest of the page of information was about them wanting money. They did not provide a link to prove the accuracy of their claim. Do I sound a little bitter? Perhaps. I'm a little skeptical of this information since it was attached to a donation effort and they did not provide a link to confirm their claims. And my bitterness is actually not related to the Courage Campaign, but to another nonprofit group in California who I will not name. They were significantly involved in the No on Prop 8 campaign. But the leader of that other nonprofit group took a vacation during the campaign. At a crucial point in the No on 8 campaign, the leader of that other nonprofit California agency took a vacation. That didn't sit well with me, folks. So now I guess I'm kind of skeptical of any California nonprofit organization that was involved in Prop 8, because as far as I'm concerned, we lost. They blew it. Instead of organizing there, we had a division problem. Once again, we had a division problem. Instead of these people coming together and coordinating their efforts. They were each running their own path. And what happened? We lost. Okay, I'm down to the last story, folks. But and it's a little dated. It's from the 18th or the 19th. Week and a half or whatever. But I had to have some good news. I had to have some good news because all the bad news was bumming me out, man. So this news is good news. And I'm going to end the show with this tidbit of good news. An openly gay Georgia teenager and his boyfriend attended their prom together. Ah, that felt so good. Cochran, Georgia. The Bleckley County High School senior Derek Martin made history Saturday when he arrived at his high school prom on the arm of another boy. He was the first in his hometown of Cochran and perhaps in Georgia to ask permission to take a same-sex partner to prom and have his school allow it. When Martin, 18, and his boyfriend, Richard Goodman, also 18, stepped onto a makeshift red carpet and their names were announced, a few parents whispered, but many in the crowd gave him a loud cheer. No one yelled out in protest. A few weeks back, a small group of students held an opposition rally in front of the town courthouse to protest. Martin's parents also kicked him out of his home after the publicity. We did report on that part of it. But I didn't know, I guess I missed that part of the story or I didn't click on it. I don't know. But another rally in support of Martin was also held at Macon Park. And supporters have donated more than $5,000 for college for him. Martin said, "You have to do what you think is right." He said, "I was tired of being sneaky and hiding things." His boyfriend, Goodman, a senior at Tift County High, said a few same couples have messaged him saying they would now ask to attend their proms together. Wow. Folks, let me read that again. His partner stated that a few same-sex couples have messaged him saying they would now ask to attend their proms together. And he also said, "Oh, and by the way, we're going to my prom May 8th, Goodman said. To a surprised Martin. Martin didn't know about that part. Martin simply replied, "That's your fight." You got to read between the lines here a little bit, people. Why did Martin say that's your fight, Because of the cost of his fight, because of what he went through to get on that quote-unquote red carpet together with them two together, that he didn't have it in him for another fight. That's what I think. Why should they have to have a fight? Why should Martin have to feel like worn out from his fight that he really doesn't want to get another fight going? When it appears to such a young person, we heard, let's put some stories together. When we heard your story about the pill to make you straight, when we heard that the 18 to 25-year-olds, that 37% of them would take the pill. And then we hear a story like this about some 18-year-olds and their prom. And him saying, "That's your fight." What kind of message does our society send to these people? And it's not just them, it's all of us. It's me too. But I'm 54 years old, and as far as I'm concerned, if you don't like me, that's your problem, not mine. If you don't like what I am, that's your problem, not mine. If you don't want me to be what I am, that's your problem, not mine. I don't tell you how to live your life. You know where I was going with that. You know, people, we all have opinions. We all have beliefs. That does not mean that your opinions or your beliefs should be used and or in any way sway others. It's not for you to tell someone else how to live. It's not for you to tell someone else what's right and wrong. I mean, you could say it all you want. We have freedom of speech. We can all say what we want. But your opinion carries no more weight than anyone else's. Indeed, your religion carries no more weight than anyone else's opinion. If you feel the need to believe in a book and what you think that book says, you have every right. You do not, however, have the right to impose your beliefs on me, whether it be religious or otherwise. You know, I find that interesting, you know, folks. That's like Sykes, the comedian, said one time. She said, you know, if you don't believe in gay marriage, don't marry a gay. You know, everyone, and the gay people are not trying to shove anything down anyone's throat, people. The fact that a gay person can get married or have a civil partnership has no effect on you. The fact that gay people are treated equally doesn't mean that you are treated any less equally. Like Hudson said so famously a little bit ago, that these things aren't things that affect the community as a whole, that all these opinions are based in bigoted prejudice. Bigoted prejudice. Like the father who killed his lesbian daughter's lover. Bigoted prejudice. Like the anti-abortion man that went and shot the abortion doctor and killed him in church. Bigoted prejudice. Like the Phelps clan. Bigoted prejudice. But they believe in their own small little minds that, you know, if we don't live according to the Bible and the book, boy, we're all doomed to going to hell. You know, we're all doomed to going to hell anyway. If you want to call it hell, you call it whatever you want. I don't believe in hell. There's no such thing as hell, folks. We all go to the same place. You know, all these people claim to be so religious. Well, you know, the religious doctrine seems to dictate to me that, you know, if someone slaps you on the cheek, turn the other cheek and let them slap that one. Not that you go out and get in people's faces and start slapping their cheeks. All the best to you and yours. Goodbye for now. Y'all have a great week. Bye.
I love you, and you, and you. Oh, and you too. And don't forget him. I love her, and him, and her, and him, and him, and her. I love you all.
Adios. Have a nice trip. Bon voyage. Farewell to thee.
That's all, folks.
We'll leave the light on for you.